We do not own the rights to anything or any music that's heard during the duration of this podcast. Also, a lot of these shows will have explicit content. So if you are not a fan of any cursing or profanity, you may want to walk away, but that does not mean that every show will consist of such.
Another year has completed, meaning that a new season begins when a new year begins. Welcome to season 9. I know we've been back and forth on what we'll be talking about, but I will be real with you. Sports, music, tech, productivity. You will likely get a lot of guests or appearances. Hey, you might even hear me get questioned about some things. But I want you all to tune in because there's definitely a lot to talk about. And this journey has been heavy, to say the least. Welcome to a new season of The Past with your host, BT. What is up? What's good? How's everyone doing? Episode 421 of The Past is here. I am your host, the one and only BT. We have yet another episode, and it seems like forever and a day. Looking at my calendar and looking at my recording queue, I think we're 3 weeks out from my last show. Yes, there have been some walkcasts that have happened. I will be getting those updated, uploaded, bringing that up to speed. And shout out to my friend Jacoby. He listened to my last sit down recording, and you may notice that there's some new mid rolls that I've added in to just get some, get some business, get some revenue, get some conversation going, help people with some things. So please, by all means, check those out. Understandable if it's not your thing, you may not want it, may not be interested in the products, but hey, any support is better than none. So I just want to get all of those small intricacies out the way before we get into this week's show. I have a few topics, but I have some huge topics only because there's been a fair share that has happened with sports, with tech, and with life. So I want to give each of those elements and components the proper attention. As you can see in the title, we will definitely get into a huge conversation with that. Ironically, I will even unpack some personal experience that I've had with it. So we'll kind of let that pan out and go from there. So first and foremost, and I believe these are still active, so I don't want to talk about it in past tense, but um, in Los Angeles or in California for that matter, there's still fire fires being handled. This has been going on since January the 7th. I'm gonna give kind of a simple overview. Let's see. Want to make sure I bring everything up to speed. So this is called the Eaton Fire. It's an active wildfire burning in the Atlatenda, I'm sorry, Altadena area of Los Angeles County in Southern California. It began on the evening of January 7th, 2025 in Eaton Canyon in the San Gabriel Mountains. As of the 8th, the fire had spread to approximately 14,000 acres. Is one of several fires that were driven by an extremely powerful Santa Ana wind event along with larger Palisades fire. As of the 14th, it is the fifth deadliest fire in in California history, having killed 17 people. I want to take this moment to just acknowledge anyone who has lost anything or lost any valuables or lost any individuals due to this fire. I send my prayers and condolences to all of you. I know that is a lot to handle. It's not some everyday thing that you're expecting to see happen in real time, but having it happen and having to go through that experience, I know can be and would be a major, I don't want to say strain on the brain, but it can cause a major impact on us, on people, whether it's realized or not. There were people who posted videos or shared thoughts of just losing everything. And it's the physical. Sometimes we're so attached to the physical that we're not thinking about the personal. And yes, sentimental values, things of that nature, but your health at times can be the more important element than anything else. So I do want to take time and acknowledge that in that conversation or in that strain or in that statement. Next up, bringing this one a little close to home. Um, there was a big, and I'm saying big, but it wasn't big. It was a snowstorm that hit here in my hometown. And the snowstorm was one part of it, but the bigger story or the bigger issue was after the snow was done, there was an issue with the reservoir and with water outage or water shortage where people were without water. A lot of improvising happened. A lot of people's thoughts had to kind of reconvene a little bit. Some folks had to find alternate um, living arrangements based on not having water. There were a lot of resources that were available in providing water. They had different locations here in town where you could pick up a case or two of water if need be. Um, I think the biggest impact for a lot of people was the hygiene factor, which I 100% understand. I think more than anything, this was an eye opener for a lot of people who may or may not have realized that a lot of the a lot of the city and surrounding cities relied on one source as being the reservoir or the handling of water. And when you realize where it's located, those who live here, I'm not going, and I know I'm usually always giving location and where I'm at and what's going on, but those who are here, if you know, you know, but those who are here and don't know or may not have been aware, there is a major um, road in the downtownish area. Someone in the West End. I'll leave you there. And at the end of this road, there's usually a park on the left, tennis courts on the right. Typically, when you get to the end of this road, you're going to go left, go to the park. You may sit, feed the birds, sit around the lake, or you may go to the right, go near where the tennis courts are, but you're going around the other side and you happen to pass by this big thing known as a reservoir. And that reservoir has been kind of the managing factor of our city for quite some time. But I think the bigger element or the bigger aha moment is not just us using that water. So that's something to keep in mind in different circumstances or different instances. And I just want to make sure that we learn what we need to learn and be aware of what we need to be aware of. And yes, a lot of people did have to make changes as far as not, making sure that once your water is squared away, not to consume the first wave because it wasn't at its proper testing point. A lot of, we were on like a boiled water precaution where if you did need to use water, just making sure to boil it before usage. Um, and for a lot of people, that's, just bringing it back to the old school. But for some people, it was like a completely new element. And it was a little discomforting for folks. And I'm not going to lie, it was an adjustment where it needed to be an adjustment. But folks who, if you've been through worse, if you live life will take you where life takes you. So definitely was a eye opener to say the least. But the more important element is getting through it. And, not long after another bit of snow came. I think we've had like 3 sessions of snow drop. But I think one of the sessions, when even with the snow dropping like it did, it wasn't enough to the point where it's like, oh my gosh, we can't do anything. But it did kind of shift things a little bit for a lot of people. So big adjustment there, to say the least. But I wanted to share that with everyone while I had the opportunity. I'm kind of moving thoughts around that I have, but I wanted to get into what I have to share. Any of you all who know me know I am a big fan of Lofi Girl. I'm pretty much from the chill hop era when it was known as chill hop, and they had his lo-fi study girl. Um, if you've kept up with the full length of it, Lofi Girl had like a huge pull on the community because you had Lo-Fi Girl,
just sitting at the computer. You had her laying with the cat. You had different animated versions of Lo-Fi Girl, but also still getting the lo-fi music. And at one point, I think it was either, I want to say the year before, it wasn't last year. I think it was 2023. We got introduced to Synthwave Boy, which generated some evening music, some kind of evening relaxed downtime music. Well, the lo-fi lore has expanded slash extended a little bit more. Our latest is they did an animation where she was riding the bus, or she was waiting to ride a bus or a train, and you see her just sitting there, and they have lo-fi music playing, and as the music plays, about an hour afterward, you see her get on a train, and from there she's taking this train to wherever she's taking. Like, it's kind of like a long-term trip, but while she's on this train, she has her cat with her, and they have a references like rain, sad, emotion music. It has like an emotional feel or flow to it, but it's more of like a calming, like wind down, fighting through. Because for a lot of people, whether anyone really openly has this conversation or not, seasonal depression is real. Whether you want to claim it, whether you are a fan of it, whether you have no idea what it means, however you're engulfed or viewing those thoughts or feelings, it is definitely a tough place or a tough space to be in. And for a lot of people, that seasonal depression is not to be treated lightly. Like, if you are experiencing that, find a way to counter it. And I'm going to tell you, there are so many options. The one that I have that I've found has worked somehow is I use what's called the Happy Light, which I've talked about a few times on the show. There's two companies. There was one that I supported probably in the most odd way. They had a Shark Tank presentation, and the lamp looked like it was a good lamp. When I tell you, you can turn that on and it'll give you the simulate. It'll simulate.
Let's take a quick break.
I know a lot of you are preparing for the new year, new me thing, and I would say you don't have to plan on January 1st. You can plan on March 5th. You can plan whenever you like. And that's where this sponsor comes in. 5 years ago, I got introduced to bullet journaling, or I was interested in learning about bullet journaling. Ryder Carroll created a planning method where you're in control of how you plan. And with the bullet journal, it's a simple format or a simple flow. You have a book. It is a dotted grid notebook, and you can plan or write out however you would like to do your planning. I have found and have accepted that I am a rapid log planner, meaning that I pretty much write out my plan, whatever the day is and the date, and then the things that I'm doing on that day. And did I do them or did I not do them? And I found that to work for quite some time. I did get a little fancy at one time and really get in depth with planning, but over time, I eventually went to, what's today's date? What am I doing today? Or what have I done today? I usually use it in a simpler manner of, once I've completed things for my day that I know I need to do, then I use it accordingly, connecting it to my digital calendar, aka Google Calendar. If you're interested in joining the Bullet Journal or Bujo community, have a 10% promo code for their notebook. They'll usually bring out a new color each year. This year I went with the yellow slash, I guess you can call it the bumblebee look to some degree. Normally, anytime I get one of their bullet journal notebooks, I'm always getting the black or the blue or something that's a dark color. So this year to go with something a little brighter was different, but bullet journaling changed the landscape for me planning and preparing. And the best part about it is you can create your planning to your style and to what works for you. Again, I've done this for nearly, if not 5 years, and it hasn't been broken, so I haven't had to fix anything with using it. So check them out, bulletjournal.com. Use my promo code Brian Bujo, get 10% off. Natural light as best as you need it for just a setting or a sitting. It's helpful for people a lot of times if they're needing it to be like a light placed in front of them, like, hey, I want something as close to the sun as possible, even if I'm not physically in the sun, or if it's too early to not absorb sunlight per se. So I have that light. I think it was I was getting ready to say Olight, but I don't think that's the name of their company. This is by Circadian Optics. That's the name of this one. If you look it up on Amazon, they have two different they have a couple versions. The one I have is you can all of them are plugins, so they're not like a mobile, like you can just have it anywhere and turn on a light. But they are good for if you plug it into a wall. They have 3 light settings, like low. I think it starts at high, medium, and then low to just kind of have like a light form in its own right. The other one my friend gifted to me, I think is by Verilux, Verilux. It is a brand that sells different happy lights. And the one that she recommended to me, or she gifted to me, she has as well. So I've used that very frequently. Matter of fact, it's plugged in now in my room. So when I'm like waking up and I'm like, oh, I don't really feel like waking up, I will turn that on and it wakes you up. Even if you don't feel like being awakened, it's helpful. I paid one forward to someone else, and that was a great experience in itself. So I'm appreciative and grateful for that by far. But yeah, all of that being said, man, like sometimes you may have those like emotional ups and downs, but if you look up lo-fi girl, and it's gonna be the one where it looks like she's on a train. It's a good night flow, like to add to the one. I think they have like a sleepy relaxation playlist. That one is good. The lo-fi jazz might be my fave. I'm not gonna lie. I know I'm going into like a super duper lo-fi lore with this, but I wanted to talk about it while I'm thinking about it. So that's what I have for that. I usually don't do um, stat breakdowns, but I want to talk about this real quick. So I'm gonna read some stats to you, and we're gonna get into a wholesome yet authentic conversation about this individual's career. So right now he is in his, I think, 8th year in the league. I want to say he's been in the league 8 years. His stats this year are 12, 3, and 1.5. So 12 points, 3.3 boards, 1.5 assists. Not getting as many starting runs, kind of is like part of the second unit, and giving you about 23, 24 minutes a game. And I believe this is his, let me make sure, New Orleans, Sacramento, Indy, Philly, and Golden State. So this is his 15. And the individual I'm talking about is Buddy Hield. Now, I'm going to say what a lot of people may or may not be wanting to say, but it needs to be addressed. Buddy Hield has that factor to play at the next level to be a star potentially in the NBA. But I think I don't want to say he's happy with being mediocre, because I don't think anyone's happy with being mediocre. I'm not going to say he's comfortable with it, but I think it has been based on the teams he's been on and the roles he's been in. It ends up becoming who he is in a sense. And here's what I mean by that. Rookie year in New Orleans didn't have like the worst year, but he had a solid year. And he was fourth in Rookie of the Year voting. After that, there was 1 year in Sacramento where he played and started in 82 games, averaged 21 points a game. Now, averaging 21 a game in like 2018, 2019 is a big deal. Now, granted, you got players now, 20 points average is kind of like, really, that's it. But it's in a game, I think at that time, scoring was at a high, but it wasn't at a high. He was, I think, he was teetering. Yeah, he was kind of teetering the 50, 40, 90 club. Looking at his stats, he hasn't hit, like free throws, he doesn't hit the 90, but he usually can get you. He's been, like, I think he's been near the 50 mark one season, which is that season I'm referring to. And for his 40%, he was 43 at 43%. But I want to see. I don't know if it's the right system. I don't know if if it's his gameplay. I don't know what it is. It's tough to pick apart, but it's also like right in front of us. So it's hard not to witness it. But he's a very good basketball player. But I always watch him play and I'm like, dude, you were a shooter. Like there's no dancing around that. Like not many players in basketball can shoot and like can hold their own at shooting. And he's been able to do that with ease, but because it's not, I don't know if it's that he's not a mainstream player that it doesn't get its recognition, but it's become a more noticeable factor in his game from what I've seen so far. And like I said, he's still early in his career, but he's also still well into his prime. So it's not the make or break or the tell all be all for his career. But it is something to really sit and, at least in my opinion, meddle with, because it's like what's needed to like get to that next level. And the thing I'm asking is, and I'm talking about it on a general level, but I'm also talking about it on a authentic, like observational level of like who he is and how well he plays the game. Like we are not gonna see, like I said, his shooting performance is 101. I don't care what anybody says, but I just don't. It's like always. It's just that question of thinking to myself, like, what's missing or what's not glaring that flare behind him as a player. And it's been on me to talk about it because I've watched him like go team to team. When he was in Indiana, I was like, all right, this looks like it's a good home for him, but Indiana didn't fit in their rotation or something. I don't know how else to put it. So thought that was a unique spiel to get into. I had a plan at one point to write about that in a newsletter, but I really didn't have like much of a verbiage on it. However, if you read my Substack, BT News, I think it's, no, I'm sorry, brightenews.substack.com. I just shared I just did a newsletter about the starters for the All-Star game. Now, everyone wasn't fussy about this, but there was a lot of conversation around this. And I'm gonna go ahead and get the obvious out of the way now. Number one, and more important than anything else, I just realized they have all the players like Instagram names. And he may have a Twitter. I mean, he may have an Instagram name, but they show their Twitter names. And everyone has a handle except Nikola. Now, maybe it might not be an app that he uses, which totally fine. But I just noticed that when I was looking at the list. But let's get the obvious out of the way. A lot of people think Steph Curry should not be granted or given a starting slot for the All-Star game. He hadn't had the best season. Based on the fans voting, which is majority, and then factoring in the other parts of the media and the players, I don't see it as a big deal. But what we have to really look at is if you look at where the All-Star games have been held the last few years, you at least want to get your marquee player into the All-Star game. Like I don't know if it was last year or the year before when it was the year was in Indy. It would have made no sense for Tyler Hansbrough to not be in the All-Star game. I want to say it was last year because they were making an uproar about there being a rendition of a basketball court inside the airport in Indiana. And they were like, oh, people are going to be playing basketball, sweating. And it was like, it wasn't even available to play on. And I think they had the rims covered, but we digress. Golden State Warriors have their new arena. I don't know if it's still called Oracle Arena or not, but it's in San Francisco.
Let's take a quick break.
For over a year, I found an accessory that has become one of my most valuable tools to use for unplugging and disconnecting. My theme for 2025 is the year of unplugging. The resource that I found to connect with this is called Brick. Their website is getbrick.app. If you look in the show notes, you will see a link where I have a promo or an affiliate link for them. I don't want to give the actual promo code only because it is subject to change. But if you click on the link, it will be updated according to what the current affiliate link is. If you want to use that link, save 10%. It will be a very helpful tool. What exactly is Brick? I'm glad you asked. It allows you to take your screen time disconnect to another level for any of my iOS users. As far as I'm aware, the developer is working to get the company who makes the Brick accessory. They are looking to make this available for Android as well. But for my iOS, predominantly my iPhone users, this will help you curve your phone usage to a whole new level. The process is simple. You get the accessory. When you install the application, as soon as you install it, they're going to ask you which apps do you want to remove or not have access to. You select those apps. They give you a gray little box that has Brick written on it. Once you have that, you will then, it's a button right on the app that says Brick Phone. Once you select that, it will automatically walk you through the steps. It'll say tap here to brick the phone. And any of the applications that are not being offered or chosen will be disconnected. The latest update for this product is why I love it more than anything else. They have now set it up so that if you use any browser, it does not matter if it's Safari, Firefox, Arc, any of those browsers, you'll be able to open the browser. But if you try to open any of the apps that you have bricked or not to be used, you won't be able to use them. That has taken my screen time to a whole different level. Before Brick, I was usually on my phone 8-9 hours a day. Lately, I've been able to break my phone for less than keeping it under almost 4 to 6 hours a day. And the average person uses their phone for quite a while if you really think about it. So check this out. The website is getbrick.app. There is a promo code. If you go in the show notes, you will see it. I also want to be clear, the show notes will show on any of the actual podcast recordings. So if you see episode and you see a number, you'll see the promo codes there. Any of my walkcasts usually will not have this code, but the link will be in any of my actual recorded casts that I'm sitting in front of the mic like I'm doing now. Thank you all for supporting, and we'll get back to the show.
It is called the Chase Center. So the Chase Center believe it or not, is in San Francisco. The All-Star game is in San Francisco. The Warriors play in San Francisco. Their star player, Steph Curry, plays for Golden State. That plays in San Francisco, where this All-Star game will be. So he's going to get a nod, whether fans are understanding it or not. Second thing I want to get into that I think needs to be talked about too, and when they did this media session, which I still have yet to watch it, but Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, LeBron James all sat down and talked basketball. LeBron got a few years left. KD has a few years left. Steph is getting close to that point where we're going to possibly see him off. Let's see him one more go. Have some fun, go out there, do what you can. And if you make another All-Star appearance, cool. If not, it's not the end of the world. LeBron also, as far as I recall, and I found this stat online, he's only came off the bench 2 times in his entire career. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think I think he's always been a starter in the All-Star game. There's never been a time he was a bench player. And a lot of time, I think there was one year, it was either last year or the year before, where he started a game, but he didn't play he didn't play that much because this is time to relax. And it's also like, bro, you done played 20 plus years in the league. At this point, you just out there. It's like, hey, I can show you how I got a little something. I'll throw a few off the backboard, reverse dunks through the legs, all that. But okay. This is my downtime because I don't get that. So let's savor the fact that you got him in. Like Shy. So the three shockers were Steph, KD, LeBron. The 3 shoo-ins were your 3 MVP candidates, Giannis, Shy, and Jokic. Jokic might get another MVP. That's a little early, but that's my 2 cents on it. Donovan Mitchell, you can't not have him in the conversation with them being the number 1 team in the East. Shy gets in off of the strength of, like I said, MVP for the West, number 1 seed in the West. They're running a solid core with a solid young core. You can't ask for anything better. Tatum's been playing lights out basketball. Karl Anthony going to New York might have been one of the most unexpected yet resourceful trades seen in basketball. I think Karl Anthony would make the All-Star team. I don't know if he would be a starter in the West based on how the West is designed. So him going over to the East and playing for New York and having a good season in New York and helping their core lineup between Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, Jason Hart, Anunoby. I think it's tough to say right now. I like OG Anunoby. This trade was like the best trade that could have, like, going to this team was like the best option for him. Like, it just landed at the perfect time for him. So that's a big opportunity. That's a big window for him as well, that no one's really put a lot of attention or emphasis behind, but it's right in front of us. Let's also get the obvious out of the way. LaMelo is not going to start. LaMelo, the Charlotte Hornets, yes, I know I just went into a rant. Steph Curry's team is like 11th. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, they're 11th in the West. I think the Suns might be between the Suns and the Warriors. They're like 10th and 11th, and the Lakers are like 5th. So you're looking at those teams and you're like, statistically, these guys haven't done it. But then on the flip side, yes, LaMelo's had a good season, but starting in the All-Star game, I don't know. Cade Cunningham, Detroit has turned it around. They have been able to kind of pick up the ball and keep moving despite all of the changes that have happened with their team. And with that being the case, it has generated the conversation that it's time for Cade Cunningham to get his credit. But you always have to remember, and I think people don't like this question, but it's also the question to be had. If I add Cade Cunningham, who do I take out? Do you take out Jalen Brunson? Maybe, but he's not been a bad resource to the team. He wouldn't. I mean, I think he could come in and do what he needs to do and getting his buckets and playing ball. We're going to see a lot of jumpers. We're going to see a lot of up and down. Depending on who plays, will play a part too. Because you also want it to still be a fun basketball game. That's your other aha moment that I think gets lost in translation too. So all of that's going to be said or talked about. I don't want to make any pre-guessed or predestined thoughts. I may do a show for the reserves. I know I'm doing my next newsletter will be about the reserves. Also, I plan to talk about the Super Bowl teams, which I know a lot of people like, well, you talking sports, you ain't talked about football yet. I'm like, I'm getting there. I promise you, I ain't left football off the radar. It's just, you got to talk about it when it's in its right point. Like, you have an interesting, I mean, you know what? This is my show. we're gonna flip it a little bit. So, NFC, Washington, and New England. I'm sorry, New England. Not New England. Washington and Philly. Don't know why I said New England. Philly is the favorite by a long shot, but Washington should not be slept on because Jaden Daniels is him. Jaden Daniels is showing you that he should get recognition for Rookie of the Year, if not be Rookie of the Year. I don't think Caleb Williams had a horrible rookie year, but I also look at it as if I'm doing an eye test and I'm really looking at who's been that guy. Jaden Daniels should get his recognition for coming in and bringing this team to pretty much being one game away from playing the Super Bowl. There have been some whining and some feelings about, oh my gosh, can't believe it. They did it and Dan Snyder's not there. And it's like, Snyder was not it. The end. Before I go into AFC, let me go ahead and put something on the table with y'all, because y'all know I like to talk. I like to talk it and I like to be real with it. Brian Schottenheimer has never coached an NFL game. However, if you put your money on it, and I take a chance on saying it, when his father, Marty Schottenheimer, was a coach in the NFL, he was on the sideline. So he was getting some coaching or some understanding of being a coach one way or another. I know a lot of people in Dallas are not looking at him as the option or the solution, but that then goes back to my same question I just asked with the All-Star team. Okay, cool. You don't want Schottenheimer. Who do you want? Who would be a good fit? Do not say Prime, because if Prime were to go to Dallas, his request is going to be that Jerry Jones has to be hands off. And Jerry is not going to be hands off. He has to be hands on. The hands on and the involvement is a big part into his style or plans of how to be a owner to some degree. So that's what I have for NFC. AFC, Mahomes, it was either going to be Mahomes versus Jackson, part whatever, or Mahomes versus Josh Allen. Josh Allen has been getting there time after time. This year, it's a more interesting dynamic just because of the simple fact that you do not have Stephon Diggs, but you've been able to work with a core group of players and been able to get the ball down the field and score. Now you're playing Kansas City. I'm going to say this on this show and make it my goal to be sure that this show goes up tomorrow. If you're going to beat Kansas City, you have to play a perfect game and you cannot put it in the hands of the referee. Bottom line. I don't care how else you want to savor it, however you want to put it, however you want to be pretty about it, whatever the case may be, that's going to be the X factor more than anything else. So keep that in mind with that game tonight. The Washington game is starting in about an hour. And like I said, I think the Kansas City game will be around like 6 Eastern time. But that's my spiel on those two games. I'm thinking Kansas City will probably pull it off. I'm going to probably lose some folks when I say this. I think Washington could beat Philly.
I don't know what it is, and they haven't been really talking about it in full. But Jalen Hurts is injured or not. He's not playing 100%, as most people don't play playoffs 100%. But him not being 100% could be a concern.
Let's take a quick break.
Never in a million years would I believe that a tool or a resource like Bagby would be the go-to. So I'm gonna give a backstory, and this will tie it in together of why I'm such a big talker of the Bagby brand. 2018, found this company called Bagby. They're a self independent business, and they were selling these bags that you pretty much can put your phone in, and it modified the process of using the phone. Over the last year or so, recently used another accessory that ironically is in my bag called Brick, that I talk about in one of my other promos. However, I'm sharing this here because I don't know about any of you. Sometimes you just need something to sit your device in and to just not acknowledge that you have the device. And that's where Bagby comes in. The Bagby brand has multiple items and multiple accessories that are useful in your day-to-day life when it comes to just finding that opportunity to unplug and to reset. And it seems so simple that it's too simple. All it is, their latest version, the bag looks similar to a sleeve. It's almost like an envelope that sits on the back of your door. You place your phone inside the accessory. It has a little loop on the side. You can put your phone cable inside that loop. And then once you have that set up, you can charge your phone while it's in the actual Bagby accessory. This has helped in so many ways with me reducing my screen time and not being on my phone as much. It's also helped with, I'm a big believer of, if you do not have to, do not charge your phone where you sleep. Many people use their phones as an alarm. I have no knock against that. However, and I have a friend of mine who can attest to this, one product that Bagby sells, they don't just sell bags, they also sell alarm clocks. It's time to go back to what works. Get a physical alarm clock and you will see different results in waking up. The alarm clocks do have the snooze feature if you need that. I've used their alarm clock for quite some time. It works just fine the way I need it. And I will tell anyone it's better to use a alarm clock compared to using accessories that are supposed to work as time users or time items. For instance, and I'm giving you all this as a real example on this mid-roll. If you don't have internet in your home for a period of time, or your electricity, whatever goes out, are you relying on an alarm clock to wake you up? Are you relying on a phone that may not be fully charged to wake you up? Or even worse, are you relying on a smart device that will not receive connectivity due to it not knowing what time it is because you don't have that feature? Go old school, get an alarm clock. And then as far as your phone, place your phone in another area, place it in the bag, let the phone charge as necessary, out of sight, out of mind. I've shared this too, and I'm going to leave this be. These are going to be the tools that will help to get kids in a space to learn how to disconnect as well. Because they also have accessories that you can put your phone, your tablet, any other devices that are just distractions in your day-to-day, as well as blue screen, blue light blocking glasses, all can be used within this realm and within this company. I have a link in the description. Use my promo code, save yourself a few bucks. You might like what you get.
So those are things that I'm thinking about in the immediate, in the right away. But we'll see. I couldn't, like I said, I can't. I hate to be that person that's saying it that way, but I can't call it. I really can't. There's no telling what may or may not happen until it all like actually happens in real time. In the last 3 weeks, TikTok went through unbanned to banned to unbanned, sorta waiting on 90 days. Now it's people's there's a lot of I'm proud. This is I know the sports spiel or the lo-fi part was gonna take up a good amount, but this might take up some time. So as you saw or as you noticed in the title, TikTok Craze, I'll walk you through this process. So the app was set to shut down on January the 19th. On January the 18th, they said, okay, we ain't playing no games. We shutting it down now. So it's unavailable to be used effective the 18th. Now, because I wasn't 100% sure where I lied or where I stood on usage or not usage, I said I'm going to delete it. But when I deleted it from my phone. I didn't delete it from my tablet because I still have my tablet. And also it's a different layer / level of discipline. When I'm out, not having TikTok on your phone and being around people who use TikTok, you see a very unique dynamic. And I'm going to leave it at that. But with that being said, cool. TikTok was down. Then, give or take 12 hours later, it got resurrected. Oh, on Sunday, ooh, it's back online. We can get back on TikTok. Oh, yay. Literally, this is how people were reacting to it. It was like, yeah, TikTok's back running. We can get back online. We can access everything. And it was like, okay. Now, mind you, I've already deleted Lemonade. I had deleted TikTok from my phone. Where it hit people the hardest was CapCut, because a lot of people use CapCut to edit videos, because a lot of people do not like, and I don't blame them. If you're an iOS user, you do not like iMovie. iMovie is it's a one-of-one application. That's all I'm gonna say. That's my nicest and most PG way of saying it. But because all this happened, if I go into the App Store on my phone right now and I search for it, if I even type in TikTok, they have like a whole banner disclaimer at the top of the page, like, hey, it's available, but right now you can't really get to it because of ByteDance and all this other stuff. And I was like, hey, it is what it is. Maybe I needed this time to kind of put my effort into other things, which I did. It forced a different level of focus. And also it forced people who were reaching out to me solely to send things via TikTok. It's like, well, I can't see it because I'm not on my tablet, or I don't have my tablet with me. They're like, yeah, I sent you this video. Okay, well, I'll see it tomorrow, or I'll see it when I get online. Like, it's not a pressing issue right now. It was never a pressing issue to begin with, but it's really not a pressing issue right now. I'm like, if it's there, it's there. If it's not, I'm not going chaotic balls for walls about it, because it's just not that serious. But it's very, very, and I know I'm constantly using this phrase from time to time. It's very eye-opening when you see how realistic of an addiction or how intense of your discipline can be challenged with using TikTok. Like, a lot of people value and appreciate TikTok for the consumption. The creating part of it is where the challenge comes in, because I was creating really wanting to post and share messages and give information, and I still can do that. But right now I'm not pressed. Like, if I were to do it, my setup now would be me using my tablet. And I'm like, it's fine. Nope, not pressed. I'm not going that far out of my way to post content on there. Like, honestly, I would say, because it's been close to a week since the switch got flipped back on, quote unquote. I really haven't posted a lot of videos. I've kind of geared my direction of what I'm sharing and what I'm trying to get out there to people, which we're going to my next topic, and I'm gonna get into that in a bit. But it's just, you don't, let me be clear. I'm not a person who's like, oh, if you got TikTok, it's gonna be a problem. But and this is the other part that I want to get into. And I'm gonna do this in real time, which y'all know I'm always about being real. So GameStop was doing a promo at one time saying, hey, bring your phone in
if it has TikTok on it, we'll accept your phone and, this will be blah, 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 whatever. Either way, GameStop is going to give you whatever the cost is of that phone, and they're going to clean the phone. They're going to wipe the phone. They got to wipe the phone because it's got to go to a new user. But this guy's so bad. Let me see. Wow. Someone is, this is insane. I thought this was a joke, but this is actually real. Wow. Someone is really selling a phone that has TikTok on it. Let's see. They just put, this don't even make sense. And this is their first and only sell that they have on here, and they selling it for $40,000. And I think the worst part is somebody's gonna buy it, not understanding that that's not gonna make sense. Because even if you get the profile, I mean, even if you get the device, you still can't use it. TikTok account on S24 Ultra barely used. And they send you one picture and it has apps on the screen, but none of them are TikTok. That's what? TikTok account on Galaxy S24 in excellent condition. TikTok account barely used. These people gotta stop, man. It's no way in the world. And I mean, 40, it's like $12,000, $20,000, $40,000. People got some crazy prices up here for it. So be aware, if you have to summarize that portion of it, if your phone has TikTok on it, please keep it on it if you plan to still want to access or be on TikTok. However, if you're not gonna miss anything in the end of the world, let it go. I let it go. I let it go, and I'm okay. Even with me being it, and I say this constantly, even with me seeing it and accessing it from my tablet, it's not like, ooh, I got access. It's like I have a Pro. Like if I had an iPad Mini, maybe it would be like not as big of a deal, but a Pro is like, I'm not picking up this. Excuse my friend, I'm not picking up this big ass tablet just to view TikTok. And then it's weird because if you use it, so funny, random story, and then I'm gonna talk about the next part. If you use TikTok on your tablet, so most of the tablets that have access to the Apple Pencil, TikTok will let you scroll using your Apple Pencil until you get to a live. When someone is live, it's like you're drawing on the screen. So you now still have to use your finger to swipe up and down. Now, I'm not sitting here saying about convenience and inconvenience. I could care less about that part of it. That's not where I'm going with this conversation. Where I'm going, or why I'm sharing this with you all, is that if it's to that point where it's that type of a thing, it's not, the app was never intended for the device to that extreme anyway. It's just available as an option. Like, and I'm gonna be risky for saying it, but I'm gonna down this hill. If TikTok was put in a form to be available on people's watches, we'd be in trouble. If you could access it from an Apple Watch, that would be the worst idea ever. But on that note, I also would not be surprised if it becomes a thing within the next couple of months or a couple of years. Who knows? But I'm just like, it's no way possible. I'm like, this does not surprise me though. Like, this is where we've gotten now. So yeah, man, just we gotta be protective, and even that was yeah, today I definitely, I'm glad I got back on the mic. I'm gonna say it that way. Before we go further, I do want to take this opportunity, because I don't believe I said so or mentioned it already. Today is year 5 that we lost those individuals on the flight on the that were on the plane with Kobe Bryant. So I want to give some recognition. Kobe Bryant, Gianna Bryant, John Altobelli, Alyssa Altobelli, Carrie Altobelli, Christina Mauser, Sarah Chester, Peyton Chester, and Ara Zobayan. We sent out deep, dark, I mean, not deep, dark, I'm sorry.
deepest heartfelt sympathy and condolences to those family members of those loved ones. Someone put up a post earlier regarding, when they shared their post, it was about Kobe and Gianna or Gigi. And first thing someone said, well, what about the other people on the flight? And it's like, we're not saying we don't recognize or acknowledge them as well. Most people who know, even a lot of people who didn't really watch basketball, knew about Kobe Bryant, and they knew Kobe was a girl dad. Quick story, and we'll get into the next topic. I'm pulling a moment like my friend too, and I'm gonna talk about that too. 5 years ago was year one of me starting bullet journaling. And it's so crazy because I think this year is like the first year that I didn't do what I normally do every year of, I'm going to use this type of journal. I'm going to use this type of planner. I'm going to use a digital planner. I was like, no, we're going to do bullet journaling. And bullet journaling has been probably my saving grace of not losing my mind. Because at least for this first month, I believe we have written a bullet journal entry for each day. And I'm going to double check because I don't like to make statements and they're not true. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 20. Yeah, every day. Haven't missed a day. So, and you'll hear it in the promo. So I'm not going to be redundant about it, but bullet journaling works. Look up videos related to it. Find the simple breakdowns about bullet journaling. Do not get caught up in the overhype. Do not pull it up on Pinterest. Do not get bombarded by the extracurricular in bullet journaling. And I'm gonna leave it at that. I don't want to get too in depth, but yeah, that's what I got. The other story. A friend of mine, few hours ago, put up a post that she was doing a podcast today. She was like, I'm going to talk for like 15, 20 minutes, 15, 30-minute podcast. No big deal. Her show got up like 48 minutes. And I'm not even mad or judging her on it because here it is. Like I started talking and I've gotten to different topics. And here we are near like, at least from what I'm recording, the 45-minute mark. So of course, adding the intro, the outros, all the other cuts and snippets is going to be a little longer. But if you get into the right topic, man, it can go. And it's all about the creator, the creative, and being open to the creation. And that's what I'm starting to connect with more now than ever before. So I don't take these moments or these opportunities for granted. I had the Casetify Ultra Bounce case for quite a while. Loved the case. Thought it was a great case. Still love the case to this day. Got a little scuffy, but nothing like over the top scuffy, but it's still like a good case. I wanted something that was similar. So the one that I had, I'm gifting it to a friend of mine with some other stuff. Looking forward to him, look on his face when he see how, because he knows me well enough to know that if I do tech, I'm not going to halfway do tech. I'm going to tech it out and it's going to be worth every penny. But I decided to get the super ultra bounce. Like this one can handle a much harder fall. And ironically, I think it was, what's today, Sunday? Last Wednesday, I had a doctor's appointment. And as I'm walking to the appointment, phone falls, hits against the corner, does a little bit of a barrel roll to some extent. But when I tell you, like, I cleaned off the little area where it got hit, if you look at the case, if you look at everything, the screen and everything, you can't even tell that I dropped the phone. It says about the case, but it's not about the case. Because this case, like I said, I'm liking this one even more. I got like I got their version of the pop socket, even though I'm not a big, like I'm a pop socket advocate to some degree, but I also like this feature that they give you that is similar. It does the job just fine. And I'm sharing this because I was looking for, so when I went on Casetify, my search was red. I wanted a red backdrop on the case because I didn't want to get clear because with the other case, it was just a clear back, but it was also like very reluctant to scratch the scuffs, whatever. And so I'm like, I don't really want to do the same thing with that one. So let me try something different with this one. And I went and looked at red. They had some stuff that was like marble look. They had this. And then I saw this camo look. Now, I have no affiliation with the war, with army, with military, anything. But when I saw it, even though it's a unique form of because if you look at it, you wouldn't think of it as being camo. But in a phone case form, it's a camo look, and it has some red, some black, some white, some gray. So it's the proper mixture if you're wearing that color fatigues per se. But I did not get it just because of its appearance and style, but it's also because of the warfare that I never thought I would be a part of, but I'm here. We, in some of our own forms and rights, are in a spiritual warfare. And we're in a battle with life and with people and with actions and with activities. And folks on tries, man. And I never really noticed when you're tried and tested, why you're tried and tested until you're tried and tested. And you're like, oh, so I needed to go through this. I needed to experience this in its entirety. And the experience makes the reward that much more worthwhile. And I'm beginning, as I get older and as I become more patient, I'm more in tune with understanding why something is the way it is. Like even something as small as there were things, and this is gonna probably be a little deeper than normal, but I'm gonna talk about it because it's where I'm at. But there are things that my dad would say that I didn't get or they didn't resonate with me like they did at the time when they were said. But now between me not hearing him say it or me recalling him saying it at the time when he said it, or me realizing or noticing my actions are similar to his actions just in a different light, I get it. And I see it a lot clearer. And I don't take it as much for granted as I did before. And I'm saying that because folks gonna try you. Like I don't know, I said it earlier, but I'm really emphasizing like folks really gonna try you. Folks be testing. It ain't even testing my gangster because I'm far from. But people get very caught up in the wrong things with the wrong intentions. Honest story, and we're gonna get into pass the message. I decided Wednesday, and I think I didn't need to go out Wednesday, but it was a reason that I went out Wednesday, and I'm gonna get into that story from Wednesday translating to today. It'll all come together. So Wednesday, I'm home. I finished work. No, actually, yeah, I had worked, left a little early, got myself straight with going to the doctor, and came home. Chilled off a little bit, did some work, got some things caught up. And I was like, you know what? It's Wednesday. I got an opportunity. I got, got a little money to spend. I can kind of go out and have some fun. I was like, let me go over here to this pool hall that reopened. So there's a pool hall here called RBA, which is Richmond Billiards Association. If you know the area, it used to be called Breakers. Then it became Your Place Bar and Grill. Your Place, they had closed it, I want to say in the summer of last year. And it reopened, I think in like November, like a couple months ago. And I was like, yeah, man, I definitely want to go check this spot out, but I don't know, I'm not sure. And I went Wednesday. And what makes it such a deep story, and a lot of you who listen to this, some people personally know me and might know this story, so I may be unpacking a little layerish, but it is what it is. Um, I, I'm on the way to the venue, and about a block away from where I would turn to go to this place was where my car was when it had pretty much wasn't able to work. It was my mom's car at the time. And I can still remember that night, happened to be a Wednesday night. And I just was, when I came back in town, I couldn't, I had an accident, plain and simple. And when the car wouldn't drive, I'm like panicking. I'm not sure what to call, what to do. So I call the police. They come, they help me get my car off the road, get into like a parking space. And then here it is, like it was almost had to have been 1:30 in the morning. Getting the car towed, getting it to the place where I normally go, my car worked on. They were telling us it's total loss based on the cost of fixing it. Had to run for like a hot second. I share all of that. And like, even at the time I was like, oh, I'm really being disciplined. I'm not going to use my phone a lot. Had my phone like bricked for like a very extensive period of time, and had to unbrick it. I think that was like my second emergency unbrick, which by the way, I've gotten those reset, which was like, wow, I'm loving it now. I got five clean unbricks. Let's do it. So I've been rocking with that for a minute. That's been a blessing by far. But I say all that to say, like, from the time that incident had happened, I had never gone back over that side of town for nothing. Like, I don't even think, I haven't gone that far out in that area since that happened. So to go to the pool hall, which was like a block away from over there, have a few, had a little, like, didn't really drink much, play pool, had some conversations at the bar. Why I'm sharing this story to tie it into the spiritual warfare part is it's a guy, him and another guy, they were both there playing pool and just kind of hanging out. And the guy's like, yeah, I'm in a band, I play music, blah, blah, blah. Is this something might be your passion, something you should do? I was like, yeah, I mean, if it's something, if I get the instrument and get back to it, sure, but it's not where I'm at right now. And so we get into some, a little bit deeper discussion. And I said, listen, if it weren't for God, I wouldn't be here. And he's like, oh, you come with this religious stuff. And I was like, I didn't say anything religious. Like, I don't know if you understand or not. This is not me having a religious conversation. This is me having a open dialogue, just an open man-to-man conversation. And we get into the conversation and we talk a little bit more. And I was like, okay, I'm probably put the message where I need to put it, and I'm gonna let it be what it be. And I said, you do what you think works for you and be who you were intended to be. Sorry, I'm like, if this music coming through this microphone, I'm like, because this is I'm always bragging on mic, but I gave him a message, and this is I'm all, everyone always hears me say this message, and I'm giving shout out to my friend X, who we did the men's ministry today. We didn't talk about it today, but it's something that always sticks with me. Well, you always hear me pausing her so often with drinking water. I was like, each day, just get up and have a glass of water. Just pour into yourself and take a glass of water each day. I ain't going in depths about why and what's nah. It'll help to like generate a healthy habit. And I walked away, and I was cool. Like I think when I left from there, I think I went and grabbed something to eat. Might have grabbed something to eat, but I know I came on home. I was like, man, I'm tired because I wanted to get up, get ready for work and all that stuff. I did, and actually, I take it back. I did run against somebody because I think I talked to my boy on the way back, and I did that. Woke up the next day. Thursday and Friday could have been chaos in a handbasket with some things that I needed to get resolved. The simple explanation is, if it's stuff that you got to get taken care of, take care of it, and don't let it take care of it, and don't let it take care of you. But also, don't make something get to a point where it could possibly blow over. And thank goodness I was able to get what I needed to get done and have things work out the way they did to get what I needed to get handled. Because it could have been way worse or went way different. And I'm glad that it went the way it ended up going. And now I'm in a more paced position with things and not pressuring stuff like I need to. Like I'm, in the simple breakdown, like a lot of people like, oh, what you got planned today? You going this? You doing? I'm like, I'm staying home. I'm chilling. I've had to make some personal choices with some other things to cut back a little bit, but I also got to still do my part while I'm doing that cutback, because I got to bring it back to Brian again. I got to literally bring it back to the old school. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just being aware that you got to bring it back to what you got to bring it back what you need to get what you need to get done completed. And that's part of the spiritual warfare too. So I'm taking very close heed to that in this process. And I don't take it for granted. If I know it's like I'm going into that deep zone or deep work thought process, but I'm speaking real on where I'm at with where things are right now, because everything could have went 10 times different than least expected. But I'm not ungrateful by a long shot, and I don't take it for granted. I fully, wholeheartedly do not take it for granted. The message I'm gonna pass is the message that was passed to me, plain and simple. Like I mentioned before, Sundays, uh, me with a couple brothers, and we sit down and get into the word, man. And I think you sometimes never know. Like, he gave me, like, he received a message and he said it was put on him to give it to me. He didn't know if I was gonna be there or not. When I got up this morning, I was like, I don't know if I'm going, but I'm gonna, let me get right, get up and get going. Need to, be thankful, be grateful. And I'm grateful for patience. That was my ability and thing that I was grateful for today, because I've definitely learned patience is virtue. And patience is what got me through a lot of other things with my workflow. So I don't take that for granted. But he came in, he spoke to us, he dapped me up and he was like, "Some just told me to tell you, man, protect your peace." And I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna, even me talking about it now, I think I was still processing when it was said at the time, but it really put like a unique emotion in me and my space, because I've been so Lauryn Hill did this song on her Unplugged album called "I Gotta Find Peace of Mind." And it's not something that you really would think about in its totality, but in its totality, it's like, okay, I get it. And I'm one of those ones, man. Like, if something comes up to be brought as a message, then I'm going, run with the message. Let me see if it might play through. We're gonna try something out. If it work, it work. If it don't, it don't. But we're gonna see if this goes. I gotta find peace of mind. I know they're not going. I gotta find peace of mind.
See, this is what that voice in your head says when you try to get peace of mind. I gotta find peace of mind. I gotta find peace of mind. He says it's impossible, but I know it's possible.
I won't play the whole song, but I wanted to at least give y'all that snippet. Didn't know I could do that. So learn something new today. Hey, celebrate, celebrate, celebrate. But I really got to find peace. And so I like so why I'm sharing that song and why it ties into this message about protect your peace is because between Starbucks, between the library, between the park. So right now when it's like with it being cold, I don't go out. I like going out on the weekends when I do my weekend walks. I love going to do that because it's just me and outdoors. We just walk and we chilling. Sometimes it's an opportunity for me to connect with God. And I'm really, this is definitely me being impromptu talking about this, but it's also in my heart is I want to say last year, probably obviously last year, but I think it was in the summer of last year. The internet people have been following them for quite some time. They put a message out there about one of the young ladies, Anna. She shared this message where sometimes you need to just go out and walk. And I think both Anna and MJ have mentioned it, so I don't want to take one away from the other for saying it, but the conversation comes about as you sometimes need to go out and walk, but walk with no music, walk with no background noise. Just consume what is around you. So if it's 5, 6 in the morning and it's just traffic and it's just your everyday walk, embrace it. Be a part of that and let that be the peace that you need. Many people know that I am a big advocate of I am team noise canceling. Like I love team noise cancellation. I will cancel out sound in a minute. Like if I'm in a space with folks, this message is, I know I'm piecing this out bit by bit while I'm talking to y'all, but it's really where I'm at about it. Like when I think about the people in my world or in my space, there are times and there are points where I'm not as attached in peopling, and I'd rather just have kind of my own little, hey, let me get in my cocoon and let me do what I do. And like I mentioned it to somebody earlier, let them cook. Let me cook. Let me navigate this for a second and figure something out to not be on pins and needles, for lack of a better term. And a lot of times I'm doing that for personal protection of my peace. But then it's a double-edged sword with that a bit too, because on the other hand, in the process of the peace protection, you're going to have people who are going to want you around them to, to have that balance of sanity or have like another light to shine. And I'm going to take this, I'm going to push this a step further. With protecting the peace, it's also a factor of protecting the light. Sometimes you need to protect your light to not let others dim your light. Like some people are gonna, like folks are gonna be with you and y'all gonna shine y'all light everywhere and go crazy. And I've been in spaces with people where I'm just vibrant and like everybody come, hey Brian, what's going on? I'm like, in the back of my head, because it's the ambivert lifestyle, the back of my head is like, hey, I just want to chill and not be seen. But all right, you saw me, so let me mingle and talk. But on the flip side, it's like, no, you need to be in these spaces because it's making you converse and find those folks to just have that comfortability with, and you need that sometimes. So I know that was a long-winded breakdown about protecting your peace, and to Q's dad, I appreciate that message because like I said, I'm receiving it for myself, but I definitely know someone who's listening to this podcast probably needs to hear that thought. So take it, consume it, utilize it, allow it to be a part of your flow. And I hope it helps you excel and continue to thrive and grow as a person. On that note, I appreciate everyone who's taken time to listen to any shows, who's left any feedback, who's told me anything to become better with this thing. I promise you it does not go unnoticed. And we're going to continue with these shows and we're going to see where it goes. And that's all I got for y'all, man. Until next time, I'm not going to say next week because next week, I don't know what's going to happen. Like I said, I may sit and stick to the script. It could be, we might be getting back to doing Sunday sessions. I don't know. I haven't done Sunday podcasts in a long time because usually I'm always trying to record on Saturday. Like Saturday, I'll tell y'all like this, and most people who know me enough to understand this. There used to be a point where Saturday was dedicated to me just being overly productive. And with my routine kind of becoming a little bit more intense, it changed because getting up in the morning, walking for about an hour and a half, give or take, and then turning around and, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go to this writing event. So I'm going to the writing event. Then I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna do my podcast. Like trying to schedule that would be a lot more than the necessary. Or if I'm doing like the cardiovascular events, like doing different things play a different role in your day to day, whether you realize it or not. And that's what I'm beginning to see now more than ever before. So that's why some stuff is like, yeah, we might do it Saturday. We might do it Sunday. Shoot, we might pull up and I might surprise you on Friday. By the way, speaking of, I may have a special podcast coming Friday. I don't want to talk too far ahead of it, but I think it might be a good opportunity for what I'm working on that day. I may make it's the best way I can describe it is if I do it the way that I think I would like to do it, it might turn up being pretty fun. And that's the most I can give you right now. Because if I throw too much out there, it's going to be like, I don't want to jump too far ahead and I ain't producing what I intended to produce. So let me let this run its course for a minute first. And then I'll let you know what the outcome is and if I work on it the way I would like to. Because I think I can get it to go where I need it to go. I just gotta let it flow where it needs to flow, for lack of a better term. So that's what I got for y'all. I appreciate y'all as always. And until next time, this is the Past signing out. I'll catch y'all later. Thanks for tuning in to yet another episode. These podcasts are uploaded to Buzzsprout. If you'd like to get into using Buzzsprout, let me know. You can reach out to me at thepastbtpod@gmail.com. Also, the mic, I know I had it there where I was using the Blue Yeti X. I used it for about 3 or 4 months. And since then, the audio has bumped up a little. We're now using the Rode mic. So I'm part of the Rode family. Also using the Vocaster 2 to connect to the Rode mic. So that has become my new combination. These podcasts are available on all platforms: Buzzsprout, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon, Pandora, you name it, it's on that platform. And finally, I want to share this because I did not have an opportunity to share this last season. If you would like to give any feedback or have any thoughts to share, on this episode, you will see a link at the top that says send a message. I do check those messages and I will be reading those if they do come up during or after the show. Thanks for tuning in. Catch you on the next one.